Welcome to the 35th episode, or perhaps part 2 of the 34th episode of the mini video series, Fridays with Father. Honestly, I did not expect the last episode to be as popular as it turned out to be, but now that you watched it and shared it more than any other episode in this series, I hope I can stand up to it and make part 2 just as complicated as part 1. So we ended the last episode with the Julian calendar and the latest update that was made by Constantine the Great, who added a 7-day week to it. Just to make it clear to my X, Y, and Z generation friends, this update was not available in App Store or Google Play simply because their tablets used a very different platform. As the first Christian communities were organized, they adopted the current calendar of the empire, which was, as we noted, the Julian calendar. As early as the 8th century, some scholars reported that there was a problem or a 3-day discrepancy between the calendar year and the true solar year. Roger Bacon, in the 12th century, estimated this discrepancy to be 7 or 8 days. The increase of astronomical knowledge and the precision of observations towards the end of the 15th century made it evident that the astronomical spring equinox occurs 1 day early in every following century. This happens because the Julian calendar measures the year to be 365 days and 1/4 of a day, while, as we mentioned before, the solar year is actually 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds long. That makes the calendar year 11 minutes and 14 seconds longer than the actual solar year. Consequently, the Julian calendar, even with its system of leap years, still builds up a difference between the calendar year and the solar year of almost 1 whole day per century. This discrepancy was one of the reasons why Pope Gregory XIII called for a reform of the Julian calendar at the end of the 16th century. The main reason, however, for this reform was a desire of the Roman Catholic Church to adjust the date of Pascha. In order to do this, the date of the true astronomical spring equinox had to be corrected. The astronomer and chronologist Luigi Lelio had the solution for the problem. In order to reconcile the calendar with the astronomical year, 10 days had to be omitted in the calendar year. This change was implemented in 1582, when the day after the 4th of October was not the 5th, but rather the 15th of October. Additional changes to the calendar were also made. To avoid this gap between the calendar year and the solar year to occur again, the previous system of leap years had to be slightly modified. Luigi suggested that centennial years, such as 1800, 1900, and 2100, that were not evenly divisible by 400, now cease to be leap years. Only those centennial years that can be evenly divisible by 400, such as 1600 and 2000, still continued to be leap years. Despite this reform, the Gregorian calendar was still not 100% in line with the solar year. A difference of 11 minutes and 14 seconds per year from the Julian calendar was brought down to only 26 seconds in the Gregorian year. This means that by the year 4909, the Gregorian calendar will be a full day ahead of the solar year once again. And this is where a genius Serb stepped in and resolved the issue once and for all. In 1923, Milutin Milankovic, a Serbian scientist, mathematician, and an astronomer, came up with a very complex but more precise system for the calculation of leap years. His calculation brought the difference between the calendar year and the solar year to less than 2 seconds. His calendar, which became known as the revised Julian or the new calendar, was consequently accepted by some Orthodox churches. The Orthodox Church of Jerusalem, Russia, Serbia, Georgia, and the communities on Mount Athos did not accept this revised Julian calendar. Most recently, in 2014, the Church of Poland reverted back from the revised Julian to the old Julian calendar. The reason why all of these Orthodox churches are still using the old Julian calendar will be discussed in a future episode in which we will tackle the model of Orthodox calculation of the date of Pascha. For now, we need to know that Milankovic's calendar will overlap with the Gregorian calendar until the year 2800, at which time a discrepancy of 1 day will occur due to a different calculation of leap years. All of the countries that changed from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar had to skip a certain number of days in order to reconcile the difference between two calendars. In most countries, these changes caused some civil unrest, as citizens were claiming that the state is not only shortening a year, but also shortening their lives by 10 or 11 days. Benjamin Franklin, on the other hand, wrote that it is pleasant for an old man to be able to go to bed on September 2nd and not to have to get up until September 14th. Among other countries, China started using the Gregorian calendar as the official civil calendar in 1912. Russia adopted it in 1918 and Yugoslavia in 1919. Saudi Arabia was one of the last countries in the world that started using the Gregorian calendar as their official civil calendar in 2016. Some countries such as Iran, Afghanistan, Ethiopia, and Nepal still use their own civil calendars. Now I'm assuming that you've learned a lot about calendars, so here's a little test or a daily trivia question. When do we, Serbian Orthodox, celebrate our Christmas? December 25th or January 7th? Call a friend, 50-50. The correct answer is December 25th according to the Julian calendar, and this currently corresponds to January 7th on the Gregorian calendar. However, this was not always the case. In the 1700s, the difference between these two calendars was 11 days, so our Christmas was on January 5th. In the 1800s, it was 12 days, so our Christmas was on January 6th. In the 1900s, December 25th on the Julian calendar became January 7th on the Gregorian calendar. Thanks to Luigi Lilio and his calculation of leap years, the year 2000 was a leap year on both calendars. The year 2100, however, is not going to be a leap year in the Gregorian calendar. If nothing changes by then, our children will still celebrate Christmas on December 25th according to the Julian calendar, which after the year 2100 will be January 8th on the Gregorian calendar. If you learned something new today, and if you like these short episodes, please subscribe to our St. Elijah YouTube channel to stay up to date with new videos coming out every Friday. Thanks for watching and Happy New Year! Happy Civil New Year, or the New Year according to the new calendar, or the revised old calendar, which is the same as New Julian, which overlaps with the Gregorian, which is the civil calendar. Forget it. Just subscribe and watch the next episode.